Good morning. If you could come in and have a seat, please. We would appreciate it. We're going to get started soon. Good morning. I'm still hearing chatter. Where is the chatter coming from? I'm speaking. Just kidding, just kidding. I love you all. All right, cool. Good morning, everyone. My name is Veronica Erb. Oh, I didn't. Good morning. I love that part, and I skimmed right over it. My name is Veronica Erb. My pronouns are they and she, and that's, if someone has two pronouns, it's different for everyone, but for me, that means if later I hear you say, she did such a great job, I'll be like, oh, that's really nice. And then if instead I hear you say, they did such a good job, I'll be like, oh, that was the best. So please use they for me. I am honored to be your host for today's platform at the Ethical Society of St. Louis. We are an ethical humanist congregation where people come together to explore big questions, inspire ethical living, and work toward a more just, kind, and compassionate world. This fall, our theme is the power of us. We believe positive change comes from ordinary people choosing to act together with compassion and courage. In a world that often feels caught in reruns, humanism invites us to imagine the sequel. A sequel written by all of us, for all of us. Whether this is your first Sunday with us or whether you've been part of this community for years, we're glad you're here. Thank you for bringing your energy and presence to this shared space of connection, action, and hope. As we enter into this time of learning and connection, please take a moment to silence your devices so that we can stay fully present together. Don't be ashamed if you have to get it out right now. You'll be more ashamed later if it rings. Okay. For our first musical selection, this morning we are welcoming our new music director, Michael Engelhardt. Mike is a songwriter, composer, producer, and vocal director whose work has been featured on ABC, NBC, PBS, NPR, the stage of Carnegie Hall, and at national music conferences across the country. His choral works are published internationally, and in the pop world, he has collaborated with artists including O.A.R, Ben Folds, Take Six, Kansas, Patti Austin, and Michael McDonald. In addition to his freelance work, Mike teaches songwriting and directs the jazz singers at Webster University, and we're thrilled that he, his wife Meg, and their kids Leo and Lucy are now part of the Ethical Society community. To open our morning, Mike will perform Everybody Wants to Rule the World, a song that speaks to power and ambition and to the human desire for control, reminding us to reflect on how we use our influence in the world.
Hi, everybody. So, yeah, I feel like Everybody Wants to Rule the World. If you know when it was written in the 80s in the Cold War era, it's kind of more of a pushback anthem against the geopolitical winds that blow around us in the world. And I think the main point of it, although the text is kind of ubiquitous, is that we can make it so long as we have each other. Welcome to your life. There's no turning back. Even while we sleep, we will find you acting on your best behavior. Turn your back on Mother Nature. Everybody wants to rule the world. It's my own design. It's my own remorse. Help me to decide. Help me make the most of freedom and of pleasure. Nothing ever lasts forever. Everybody wants to rule There's a room where the light won't find you. Holding hands while the walls come tumbling down. When they do, I'll be right behind you. So glad we've almost made it. So sad they had to fade it. Everybody wants to rule the world. I can't stand this indecision, married with a lack of vision. Everybody wants to rule the. Say that you'll never need it. One hell, I believe it. Everybody wants to rule the world. All for freedom and for pleasure. Nothing ever lasts forever. Everybody wants to rule the world.
Thank you, Mike. I feel like we could feel your jazz background in that rendition. It was really nice. All right. Each week, we read our youth education core values as a way to bring us together and remind us of our shared commitments. This morning, our core values reader is Samuel Borders. Please join me in welcoming them to the stage.
Every person is important and unique. Every person deserves to be treated fairly and kindly. I can learn from everyone. I am a part of this earth. I cherish it and all the life upon it. I learn from the world around me by using my senses, mind, and feelings. I am a member of the world community, which depends on the cooperation of all people for peace and justice. I can learn from the past to build for the future. I am free to question. I am free to choose what I believe. I accept responsibilities for my choices and actions. I strive to live my values.
Thank you, Samuel. Excellent. These values are at the heart of our youth program, and they're just as meaningful for our adults, too. At this time, our young people are invited to head downstairs to continue their programs. We wish them a wonderful morning of community and learning. It's now time for opening words, a moment when we hear directly from one of our fellow Ethical Society members. Each week, a member of our community shares a short reflection to help us get to know one another more deeply and remind us that our community is built on real lives and voices. Our current platform series explores how positive change happens through human effort, how cooperation, solidarity, and shared responsibility can make the world more just and compassionate. Opening words is one way we bring those ideas into focus. Please join me in welcoming Ethical Society member Gary Eldon Rickard.
Thank you. I'm Gary Eldon. I'm truly excited to be here, and I love this place. The message I have today is more important than myself. I've spent my entire life searching for the most fundamental forms of truth and understanding. And after thousands of hours searching for one true religion, I came up empty-handed. I concluded the obvious. No book fell out of the sky. Long ago, I walked away from the idea of a supernatural God in the heavens, so reluctantly I called myself spiritual but not religious, as do about 1/3 of Americans. Another statistic shows us over 90% of people around the world continue to believe in the religion they were born into. And shockingly, almost 10 times more Americans believe the earth is less than 10,000 years old than all of those that identify as atheists. Belief doesn't just resist logic, it crushes it. Why? Because belief is older than reason, belief is older than civilization, older than science, and no matter what we think of it today, belief has shaped us into who we are. But more than 99% of people in recorded history have lived within religions, inseparable from their cultural and political systems. Even before written history, humans held spiritual beliefs. Spirituality isn't just a tradition, it's an evolutionary inheritance. Even Albert Einstein, mocked for his impossible theories until he reshaped the understanding of reality itself, believed not in a personal God, but in Spinoza's God. Nature is everything. I would ask my atheist and agnostic friends to be open to explore Albert Einstein's concept of spirituality based on Spinoza's ethics. He said, "The most beautiful experience we can have is the mysterious. It is the fundamental emotion that stands at the cradle of true art and true science." I ask, what if spirituality is real, just not in this form of preconceived notions? Even in the original platform of Felix Adler, he called for a practical religion. The authors of the Humanist Manifesto intended it to form a new religion. It is understandable many have sought to discard and erase these words entirely, yield them to the big and powerful. Besides, they have thousands of years of claim to them. But I believe the word religion was not a bug, it was a feature. We are the largest secular congregation in all of North America, but there are less than 500 of us. There are over 3,000 houses of worship with more than 500,000 weekly attendees just in the St. Louis metro. The truth is, if humanism and ethical culture are going to make a larger positive difference in the world like we all want it to, it's going to have to expand broadly. Religion is, by root, what binds. I am here to say the glue itself is not the problem. It is the deep impressions we have from ancient religions misaligned with science. They are simply words in the English language with little power upon themselves until added to context. I ask, why can't new context be created within the bounds of modern science? Well, that is precisely my intention. The nature of reality is that nature is reality. Nature is all there ever was and ever will be. Nothing is the source of nature, but nature is the source of everything. This acknowledgement is both scientific and spiritual at the same time. But look how disconnected humanity is from reality. Can we be reconnected? If we have any hope, we must find the glue to restore harmony within nature before it is too late. I believe it can be done religiously. But this time, using true glue in nature, of nature, as nature, belief not required. It is with love and compassion I have founded a new practical religion with 501c3 status and donated substantial startup funding in my desperate attempt to bind humanity back together with nature. And overwhelming this responsibility is, I feel it is part of my purpose. I hope we can explore these ideas together as a congregation, and I'm hoping given the opportunity to expand. I think we could start a modern-day enlightenment together. And one last thing. We do have an ancient book we believe in. It is in my hand, my most prized possession. 1873 original publication, the first edition to include the word evolution. It's called The Origin of Species. Maybe you've heard of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary Eldon. I think that is a great example of two of our values here, which are I'm free to question and I'm free to choose what I believe. So thank you for emphasizing those for us. Please join me in welcoming Mike back to the stage. He's still here. Back to our focus. His next piece is The Power of Us All, a song that captures the heart of our fall theme, that when people work together, we can create real and lasting change.
So I've done a lot of study in the field of positive psychology, mostly for my own self and my own mental health, and stumbled across the broaden and build theory, which says that if you can ground yourself or root yourself in a positive emotion strongly, preferably earlier in the day, then you can broaden and build on that, and you are shown clinically to have more open-mindedness throughout the day, being more open to positive experiences throughout your day. So today I'd just like to teach you a little song. It's a little melody that I wrote, not very much to it. The words you know, The Power of Us All. It just goes like this. The power of us all, the power of us all, the power of us all. Sing that with me. The power of us all. It's great. Some of the treble voices in the room might be a little more comfortable singing it up here. The power of us all, right? The power of us all. That's right. The power of us all. So the positive emotion that we're going to root and ground ourselves in this morning is empowerment. Empowerment. Think about this community, or a community that you relate closely to. Could be your inner circle, your friend group, your family, loved ones. Think now of some of the individuals that make up that community. and consider some of their quote-unquote superpowers. Right? What are their individual strengths, interests, abilities, anything you find admirable about them? Think on those for a moment. Go person by person around your circle. It might be within this very room. Ethical Society might be that community for you. I'll just give you a moment to think through each person and consider their own superpower. Sing with me. The power of a song. The power of a song. The power of a song. Sing that one more time. The power of a song. Take it one step deeper. Consider your personal place in this community, in whatever community you were thinking of before. What are your superpowers? Quote unquote superpowers. What are your unique strengths, interests, abilities that you could possibly bring to the group, maybe even in a more fully developed way? It may involve taking a risk to do so, but what would happen, what could happen if you did so? Now, what would happen if everybody in the group did so? What power together do you possess to make lasting, positive, real change in the world? Think on that for a moment, and then we'll sing again.
thank you. I love singing in groups. I know that not everyone here does. So if you feel a little twitchy after that, this is one of my favorite grounding techniques, is you just put a little pressure on a joint. You can hold it in your lap, no one will notice. And for those who did sing and felt good about that, thank you. That was really special. Before our main address, we like to take a moment for mindfulness. Sometimes our minds feel crowded with thoughts and worries. I invite you now to clear a little space. Let your shoulders relax, soften your gaze or close your eyes, and bring your attention to your breath. And if that's alarming, just sit there for a minute. It'll be over soon. We'll take one quiet minute together, and as you breathe, let your body release what it doesn't need and welcome in a sense of calm. Welcome back, everyone. This morning, we are honored to welcome Louise Jett as our speaker. Louise is an ethical humanist, educator, and storyteller who strives to bring both curiosity and compassion to everything she does. She's a certified leader with the American Ethical Union and finds inspiration in people who dedicate their lives to empowering and caring for others. She's also just a really, really nice human. She loves connecting with people and having fun, so be sure to say hello at coffee hour. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Louise Jett.
Good morning, everyone. I want to start by thanking my sister. My car broke down yesterday, and I wouldn't be here physically this morning if it weren't for her. She's literally the best, and she doesn't just show up for me in this way, she shows up for all of her friends in this way. So thank you, Jenny. I borrowed her car, and I got here. My name is Louise Jett, and my pronouns are she and her. And thank you for joining me today. History is tired of repeating itself. It yawns each time we declare, the end is near. It cringes when cruelty puts on a new costume and calls itself necessity. It has watched us rehearse the same tragedies so many times that it must long as we do for peace. If history could speak, I think it might say, please stop producing reboots no one asked for. History doesn't need better special effects, it needs a better plot. We change the scenery, we rename the characters, we swap swords for drones, chariots for tanks, and parchment for screens. But somehow the plot, you know, the one about fear, greed, and forgetting our shared humanity, it remains stubbornly the same. And here we are, actors in the latest remake of an ancient story. Fear versus compassion, power versus integrity, indifference versus imagination. Every generation thinks its own script is new, but history knows better. It knows the cycle. It knows how reality and how readily we dress repetition as progress and call the facade transformation. So let's imagine history not just as a record of what has happened, but as a living being wanting to be surprised. Today, history is in the audience, longing to see how the story of us might go differently this time. And this is where we are, with a weary history, a tired script. But we also have each other, the writers, players, and dreamers. We need to decide whether to keep repeating our lines or dare to improvise something new. Philosophers have wrestled with this fatigue, the weariness of cycles, and from their struggle, humanism inherits the greatest challenge, inventing what comes next. G.W.F. Hegel, the grand architect of historical progress, imagined the march of spirit moving through the ages. He tried to make history logical, to fit the chaos of human experience into reason's design. But real lives and real losses rarely stay within logic's borders. His map of the human story was far too small. It left entire continents outside of its frame, as if history belonged only to Europe's idea of itself. Then came Karl Marx, who took Hegel's grand design and turned it on its head. If Hegel drew history as a system, Marx redrew it as a struggle. He gave us the insight that power shapes everything, that history too is written in the language of labor and loss. He saw patterns where others saw accidents, but sometimes, in his fierce clarity, he forgot the tenderness of individual lives. And where Marx looked outward, Friedrich Nietzsche looked inward. He challenged the complacency of his century, asking each of us to live so authentically that we could welcome the return of every moment. He explored a psychological drive forward toward growth and strength, and invited us into self-actualization. And yet, the generations after him weaponized his writings as a license to dominate, twisting his call for courage into an anthem of cruelty. And then came Hannah Arendt, the exile, the witness, the philosopher of beginnings. A Jewish intellectual who fled Nazi Germany, she witnessed her world torn apart and still refused despair. She gave us the language of natality, the simple, radical truth that every birth is a possibility, that the world can begin again through human action and imagination. She saw action as the highest human capacity, the means by which people come together to create a shared global community. Each of these thinkers struggled to name the pattern that binds us. Each tried in their way to explain why humanity seems destined to rehearse the same mistakes. And each in their own blindness left something out. They were all in their own ways products of the times they sought to transcend. That too is a part of the lesson. Our heroes, our philosophers, our reformers are all incomplete, all human. Our task as humanists is to take what is luminous in their thought and shine it wider, to learn not just from their wisdom, but from their blind spots, to keep rewriting the story they began with more empathy, more inclusion, and more courage. Hegel saw history spiraling towards self-knowledge, but admitted that we rarely learn from it. Marx warned that history repeats, first as tragedy and then as a farce. Nietzsche imagined eternal recurrence and urged us to live a life worth reliving. And Arendt reminded us that there is another way. We can begin again. Humanists believe that renewal is not miracle, but choice. We're not prisoners of repetition, but its authors. And authors, my friends, they can make edits. And so we turn to a moment in our history of ethical culture when a few courageous people looked at the moral landscape of their age and decided to revise the script. When the ethical culture movement was born in the late 19th century, it was not a refinement of old moral order. It was an act of rebellion against it. The movement's founder, Felix Adler, a philosopher and a rabbi's son, looked at a society bound by dogma and hierarchy and said, enough. He dared to imagine that morality could stand on its own feet, that goodness needed no throne in heaven, that ethics could be its own source of light. Soon, Anna Garland Spencer was standing beside him, often just beyond the spotlight. Anna was not content to preach about goodness. She wanted to build it. Before joining ethical culture, she was the first woman ordained as a minister in Rhode Island, and she believed that faith in humanity meant faith in human structures, in education, in social reform, and in care. She taught us that ethics must be lived in community, not recited from a text. Her theology was tender and stubborn. If the world is broken, we rebuild it through relationships. And so while others debated theology, Anna Garland Spencer rolled up her sleeves. She lectured and taught about social work and philanthropy. She led child welfare and women's suffrage campaigns. And she helped establish or support reform associations, like the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People and the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom. She saw clearly what few did then, that justice is not an abstraction, it's a practice of care. To me, she is a steady heartbeat of our movement center, the embodiment of humanism's creative courage. If Adler was the architect, Anna was the builder. He drew the blueprint, she poured the foundation. She believed we could design new social structures that reflected our moral imagination, new ways of raising children, teaching students, sharing resources, resolving conflict, and honoring every human life. She helped pioneer the intellectual and institutional roots of what we now call social work by participating in early social service programs and advocating for structured relief work and social ethics. Anna Garland Spencer was in her time dismissed by some as impractical, too idealistic, too tender for the world as it was. But perhaps tenderness is the most radical practice of all, because tenderness insists that the world can still be otherwise. That is the spirit that we inherit. And as we muster the audacity to imagine new moral orders, we must also tend to real pain. I feel history's exhaustion most sharply when I look at our world's suffering. We are watching again as the machinery of violence grinds on in Gaza and beyond. Genocide has reduced entire neighborhoods to rubble. Palestinian parents search for their children in the dust and debris. Hospitals run out of water and supplies. People endure the heartbreak of starvation in a world that has more than enough to share. The images arrive on our screens so often that we begin to mistake repetition for inevitability. This is not a new story. It's the oldest one. The story of people rendered faceless so that their suffering can be dismissed. History has told it too many times, to indigenous nations, to enslaved Africans, to all the people who have suffered under empire and genocide, and to civilians everywhere whose humanity has again been rendered expendable. It is the same ancient logic of domination wearing a modern uniform. When we recognize that pattern of who suffers, who is silenced, who is forgotten, we begin to wake from repetition. Awareness is the first act of invention. To ignore this pain is to join the repetition. So I speak to bear witness, to name the sorrow of the living and the dead, and to honor the people of every nation, all the children of earth, whose homes become history's battlefield. Even in the darkest storm, mercy still charts its course. There are those who boarded small boats carrying food and medicine toward wounded shores. Their flotillas are fragile. This time, none made it through. Every vessel was seized before it could deliver the life-saving aid. And still, the vision that launched them endures, proof that even when compassion is captured, it is never truly defeated. And in that persistence, I see what history still hopes for, that the impulse to care will one day overcome the impulse to control. Every time we reach across fear, every time we choose empathy over apathy, we grant history a brief exhale, a soft pause in which humanity might breathe anew. But pauses alone do not heal. What then can save us from the weariness of repetition? How do we rise from the ruins and keep building? Nietzsche once imagined external recurrence, to live our lives again exactly the same over and over again forever. It was his test of affirmation. Could we live and love existence so completely that we would welcome its pain to return? But perhaps the noble challenge is the opposite, not to repeat what was, but to begin again, to live once, bravely, differently. This is a part of the humanist tradition, to invite a gesture, a word, an approach, a friendship that history has not yet seen. And here, Hannah Arendt turns the page. She who saw her century drown in cruelty still marveled at every birth as a chance for the world to start anew. She wrote, "The birth of new people and the new beginning, the action they are capable of by virtue of being born, only the full experience of this capacity can bestow upon human affairs faith and hope." But natality for Arendt is not only about infants, it's about possibility, the power of human action to interrupt the predictable, to ground hope in the new. She pivots us away from mortality toward birth, from the question of how we end to the question of how we begin. And in that birth lies the capacity to act, to unfold what no one could fully foresee. That capacity alone can rescue human affairs from entropy. Every newcomer brings something incredibly singular into the world, making plurality not an abstraction, but the condition of our shared life. And yet, this plurality is fragile. It must be sustained by public life, by speech, by institutions, so that beginnings are not swallowed by repetition or decline. In natality over mortality, the promise of a vibrant human world resides. Every time we forgive instead of retaliate, listen instead of lecture, cooperate instead of compete, we midwife a new beginning. Each act of care is proof that history's script is not fixed. To live humanely is to practice natality every day, to refuse despair's script, to take the pen back from history's tired hand and write a new first line. And this is how justice grows, not from punishment, but from imagination. Not from perfect systems, but from the daily practice of dignity. Recognizing the patterns of injustice allows us to wake. Resisting complicity keeps us awake. But imagination lets us dream while awake. Every time we imagine a kinder possibility, we become, in our sense, newborn, and the world for one fleeting moment is renewed with us. Let's remember the courage of our ethical culture founders. They were not guardians of old certainties. They were rebels for a gentler world. Felix Adler dreamed of ethical fellowship beyond creed. Anna Garland Spencer helped build it. They did not create ethical culture to ensure that history would continue. They created it so that we could evolve. If we are to honor them, we must inherit their audacity. We must look at our own institutions, our own habits, our own fears, and ask, where have we begun repeating ourselves? And what can we invent instead? These questions show fidelity to the spirit of ethical humanism. Recognizing the patterns of injustice is not enough. Resisting complicity is not enough. The humanist calling is larger still, to imagine the world that does not yet exist and to build it with our bare, hopeful hands. Imagine politics rooted in empathy, economies devoted to human flourishing, cultures courageous enough to choose curiosity over certainty. These are not naive dreams. They're sketches of what the next chapter of humanity could look like if we choose imagination over fear. When we choose cooperation over domination, we change the trajectory of our shared future. When we choose compassion over convenience, we grant history a moment of mercy. When we create art, justice, or friendship, we ensure that history does not repeat, but evolves. Because history, dear friends, is tired. And maybe the kindest thing we can do for it is to surprise it, to give it at last a plot twist worth watching. Let the next act begin, written in the ink of empathy, staged by the courage of ordinary people like us, directed by ethics, and illuminated by hope. Because humanism is not a creed, it is an invitation to stop the reruns and invent the sequel. Thank you.
Thank you, Louise. I want to read one of my favorite sentences, although there were many wonderful sentences, which is, imagine a world that does not exist and build it with our own hopeful hands. So I know I'll be taking that away from Louise's words. All right, each week our mission comes alive, not just in words, but in action. You guys can go ahead. This Thursday's silent movie night is a great example of that. A team of our members has come together, volunteering their time and creativity to create an event where we can gather for fun, enjoy art and music, and strengthen the bonds of community. Opportunities like this remind us that living our mission isn't only about serious reflection or justice work, it's also about joy, connection, and celebrating culture together. When we show up, share experiences, and support one another, we are building the kind of just and compassionate world we hope to see. All of our programs, from cultural events like Silent Movie Night to youth education to justice initiatives, are made possible through the generosity of our members and friends. Our ushers are almost finished passing the collection baskets, and many of our members give online or through an annual pledge, so thank you to those who do that. And there's also a number of QR codes up here, including for donating and finding us on the interweb, so please sure to do that if you haven't already. Now we're going to take a moment for some announcements about what's coming up. I have a couple to read, and we also have a guest coming up, or several guests coming up. First, Please donate hot hands and other warming items for our Service Sunday collection. All items will be packed up on Sunday, October 26th, so get them there before that. See Crystal White with any questions, and thank you all for your generosity. And Crystal's going to wave. Okay, there's Crystal. Next, Ethical Society will be closed on Friday, October 17th for the parking lot to be resurfaced. Very exciting. The building and parking lot will not be accessible, so we kindly ask for your cooperation and understanding during this time. You can see the weekly newsletter for more details. Next, from the Leader Search Task Force and the Board of Trustees, thank you to all who participated in our leader conversations over the past 2 Sundays. And thank you to our excellent meeting facilitators. Up next, watch your inbox for a survey to inform the search process. There were also volunteers who made and handed out lunch, so thank you to them as well. Okay, finally, let's welcome the ethical navigators. I believe there's a few. Are they coming? Where are you all? They are downstairs and they did not come back up. I was thinking that. What's that? They got lost. It's a big building. So instead I will tell you that after platform, ethical navigators are downstairs. I believe there's a lunch. What's at the lunch? Pasta. There'll be pasta at the lunch, and delightful navigators are kind of our equivalent of scouts. And the money will be going to, who knows that? The navigators. Great. All right. Thank you for your assistance in that announcement. All right. Now for our third musical selection, let's welcome Mike back to the stage. Oh, he's already there. He's like a magical person. He'll close with Everyday People by Sly and the Family Stone, a classic anthem that reminds us that change doesn't come from a few powerful voices, but from all of us together. The song celebrates our differences, our common humanity, and the simple truth that the power to shape a better world rests in everyday people working side by side.
I'll let you off the hook on this one. It's not a sing-along, but, you know, if you know the words and you want to sing along, I'm not going to stop you. Sometimes I'm right, and I can be wrong. My own beliefs are in my song. The butcher, the baker, the drummer, and then makes no difference what group I'm in. I am everyday people, yeah, yeah. I am everyday people. A blue one who can't accept the green one, for living with a fat one, trying to be a skinny one. Different folks for different folks, and so on and so on, and Scooby-Dooby-Doo. We got to live together. I am no better, and neither are you. We are the same, whatever we do. You love me, you hate me, you know me, and then you can't figure out the bag I'm in. I am everyday people, yeah, yeah. I am everyday people. There is a long hair that doesn't like the short hair, for being such a rich one that will not help the poor one. There is a yellow one that won't accept the black one, won't accept the red one, that won't accept the white one. Different strokes for different folks, and so on and so on, and Scooby-Dooby-Doo. I am everyday people. Am everyday people, yeah, yeah. I am everyday people, yeah, yeah. We got to live together.
Thank you, Mike. And I actually see navigators back there. We already made your announcement for you. Yes, but why don't you step forward and everyone can look back and be like, oh my gosh, we love the kids. Yay. All right. Thank you. Do you guys want to come up? Are you pumped? Okay, they're pumped. They should come up. All right. We have a moment. Anyone like a stool?
The Navigators will be hosting First Sunday Lunch today immediately after platform. Lunch will be pasta with a gluten-free option topped with your choice of red sauce, homemade cream sauce, or clarified butter. Protein choice will be mushrooms sauteed in olive oil, ground beef, or chicken. Finally, we will have salad and bread on the side and several drink options: lemonade, tea, and water. The price is $7 for adults and $3 for youth.
Already have lunch plans? We've got you covered for dessert with a bake sale before and during lunch.
Navigators is a national circular inclusive scouting and organization and proceeds help offset costs for programs like sending our families to the National Jamboree in New York City this last summer, among many other great activities.
Thank you all. I liked our community announcement, but that was way better. So I'm glad we made time for that. All right, thank you to Louise and Gary for sharing your messages and perspectives with us this morning. And thank you to Mike for his music and magical appearances up and down the stage. And to all of you for being here. Louise reminded us that history doesn't have to trap us. Humanism is our invitation to write the next chapter of our shared story with compassion, creativity, and courage. Our theme this fall, The Power of Us, calls us to remember that we don't write that story alone. It's written by everyday people, standing together, honoring the differences that make us important and unique, and building a future shaped by justice and love. After platform, we invite you to join us downstairs for coffee and conversation. There's also tea for those of us who only drink tea. Don't forget to stop by the kitchen to grab a pasta lunch and some sweet treats to support our navigators. However you spend the rest of your afternoon, may you carry with you the knowledge that we are not bound to repeat the past. Together, we have the power to create what comes next. Thanks.